Hello, everyone in our Cadence community. It's great to see you tonight. Welcome to Cadence, your monthly destination for what's hot and how to handle what's coming up next in the world of marketing, communications, and events. I'm Steve Boyce. I'll be your host and moderator for tonight's program. So great to have you join us tonight. Thank you for taking your valuable time to be with us here at Cadence. We're so excited about tonight's program for so many reasons. First of all, we've got a great lineup of panelists and featured guests tonight. You folks have really picked a great episode of Cadence to join. We've got some tremendous perspectives to share with you, and we'll be bringing them onto the stage in just a few moments. We also have a fantastic topic for tonight. Tonight, we're going to be exploring with all of you and our featured guests the topic of keeping business human in a digital world. I mean, folks, aren't we all a little fatigued with Zoom and other kind of digital engagement? Well, not tonight, not on Cadence, because tonight, folks, you're part of this program. We want to have a conversation with you. We're going to share our perspectives, as we said, from our featured guests, and then we're going to break out and join you at the tables here in our beautifully designed forum here at Cadence, and want to give a nod to our partners at Ace Events for producing this great program and great event. We're excited to be with you tonight. So we're going to be out and about with you folks at the tables. We want to hear from you as well, understand your perspectives. What are the challenges you're facing in your organization to try to keep business human in an increasingly digital world? So it's going to be a lot of interaction. You're going to have opportunities to help co-create tonight's program and experience. More on that in just a few moments. Now, before I bring on and introduce our featured guests tonight, folks, just want to make sure you're aware of the feature functionality in our platform here at Cadence so you can take full advantage of the opportunity to engage with us. First of all, when we break out into our tables, just like you were enjoying prior to the start of tonight's program, please do turn your camera and microphone on so that you can participate and engage with other community members at your table. Feel free to move around. All you got to do is double click on a table that has an open seat, and you can join that conversation. Secondly, as you'll see along the bottom icons on your viewing console, there is one for chat. You go ahead and click that, you can engage the group chat feature and use that to share your perspectives not only with folks at your table, but more broadly throughout the Cadence experience. You can also use the chat and Q&A functions to submit questions for our guest speakers. We're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A throughout tonight's broadcast. So, folks, how do we keep business human in a digital world? Ashley, I'm going to come to you first, and we're going to work around the group here, and we'll spend about 10, 15 minutes kind of bringing forth some of your folks' key ideas and passion points about this. Then we're going to break out in a little bit and share some time with our community. But, Ashley, I'd love to start with you and talk about, you know, obviously we're all aware of the pandemic and the challenges that's created just in general terms. But I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about how does Transcends think about creating human connections in a digital first work culture? And are there differences depending on the nature of the organization and how they're structured and who their leaders are? I'd love to just have you talk a little bit openly about how you and Transcends help companies to drive forward in that regard.
Great, thanks so much, Steve. Digital is a completely different ballgame. I definitely subscribe to the belief that digital and face-to-face are fundamentally two completely different things. And I think about Canadian author Marshall McLuhan. He says the medium is the message. And when we're talking about the richness of different communication channels, there's just a fundamental difference. So for me, one of the things I always try and do is have video on. And I think what it really comes down to is how serious are you about accomplishing your goals? Because if you're looking to influence change or really create meaningful impact, especially not even necessarily especially, but in my role as CEO, a lot of what I'm trying to accomplish is change. So we're painting vision, we're driving towards impossible things. You know, we have the big, hairy, audacious goal. So how do you create that kind of motivation, excitement when you're limited to what we're operating out of right now?
Real estate. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think video is a huge thing. And to just take a step back, when I founded Transcends in 2018, one of the reasons that we kind of started fresh with this new agency is from a culture perspective. So in 2018, we 100% committed to digital. So we said Transcends is founded on remote work culture. Now, everyone in the world has now gone through that lived experience of COVID. But I think for us, kind of a year and a half ahead of that, starting a remote only company definitely had a lot of challenges and a lot of learning. But it also meant that in the time of COVID, even though it was a particularly difficult time for everybody in the world, from a work perspective, we had a lot of good rhythms and practices down in the business from a culture perspective that I think has most certainly helped us build meaningful relationships, trusting relationships, both internally as a team and with our clients.
And that's awesome. And I'm curious, Ashley, if you feel like having established your own digital first culture prior to the pandemic, do you think that put Transcends in a position of being more credible on the topic, since you're already kind of living this experience without having been forced into that decision regarding culture, if that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. So one quick point on clarification, we say digital first. And digital first to me means there's a second, which does mean that we don't, like, if anything, we have to put more effort into prioritizing face-to-face. So especially pre-COVID, I had a goal to see every one of our employees, no matter where in the world they are located, on a quarterly basis at a minimum. Because of COVID, because we've been limited in travel, we just did our annual business planning about 2 weeks ago. And because we couldn't get together as an entire team, we did satellite parties. So we rented a beach house in New Zealand, and we had a team in India, and then we had our North Americans based out of Vancouver. And just having those, so there's the face-to-face, some of us meeting for the first time, given the circumstances, but then the digital weave that would kind of bring us together and have that cohesion.
Nice.
In terms of coming into COVID with remote work experience, yes, I do think that we were in the very fortunate situation of being able to provide some, I hate these buzzwords, thought leadership on the topic, definitely. But it's funny even to me when I look at the type of communication. So beginning of COVID, because of that, we were asked to put out a remote work ebook, tips and tricks remote work, get some of that content and stuff out really quickly. But when I look at it now, it's so outdated. Like how much the world has changed in 18 months. The stuff that we were writing about then, I think, was still fairly basic. And even, so we've expedited our own digital transformation and growth in remote and hybrid work over these last 18 months as well.
Wonderful. Well, and I really appreciate that response and the thoughtfulness of the approach you took to integrate those different modes of engagement, within and across your team. Of course, we're hearing a lot now about hybrid, right? Everyone's already tired of hybrid, right? It's only been around a short time and everyone's already tired of hybrid. We want to move to something even more exciting. But I like that combination of digital and some in-person experiences. I think that could be really effective if well done. We're going to come back to you, Ashley, on some of that in a minute. Suzanne, hang tight because I got a question coming up for you about leadership regarding change management. But Jeff, I wanted to come to you next. Ashley talked a little bit about a lot of what they do is change management, right? And changing culture and how do you transform organizations. I think we can all appreciate that's hard stuff, right? That's really hard to get. I mean, think about how hard it is to, change a bad habit that any of us have, right? It's really difficult. You expand that at an organization level, and to me, the challenge becomes exponential. Jeff, you guys have found a way to try to make, as you shared with me, change fun, right? Tell the audience a little bit about this challenge culture that you've seized upon, and how does taking a challenge approach to change management or cultural change, how does that affect the way people buy into or embrace that process?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So, a couple of things. We do think of change as being hard, especially at an organizational level, and it is in general. But the reality is, most people are just doing it completely wrong, and it's I think when we all think about it, we get it. And the example I always like to use is when it comes to like the culture, for example, creating a culture, most people look at it like they're going to go to the gym, one day in January and expect to be in shape all year. And so that's what they'll do for their culture. They'll have an event or they'll have a training and then they just think it's done. But they would never do that for their marketing plan or their sales plan or their operations plan. Like, we put a lot of due diligence into structure and accountability and metrics and all those things when it comes to anything else in our business. But when it comes to our people development, when it comes to our culture, which everyone agrees is crucial and vital to every area of the business, we just do an event here, an event there, and it's just weird. There's a huge disconnect. So
Yeah.
the idea of challenges is we understand that we understand and everyone needs to understand this is a muscle. This is something we have to work on. But we need to understand the muscle groups, and there's 4. The 4 things that are crucial for everyone to get. And if they do this as leaders, like, this changes the game. What everybody wants, all of us as humans, to become fully engaged wherever we are and bring our gifts forward, are these 4 things. We need to feel valued. It's the #1 complaint every single year on the surveys by the big data companies on engagement. So feeling valued. Second, we need to feel connected to others. So digitally, in person, but connection, which can transcend that. People can connect on digital, they can connect in person, but they can also not connect. They can be in the same room and not feel connected. So connection. Then third, to feel like what they're doing, no matter what role they have, that it's contributing to something bigger than themselves, that they're part of the mission. And fourth, that they're growing personally and professionally, that they can take a look back and say 12 months ago and look and say, I'm a better version of myself than I was then. To the degree that we create that kind of environment, we will bring forward the best in the people around us. That's human nature. And so we use challenges as a way to provide a simple, practical way that everyone in the organization, from the CEO to the person who's just starting their first day, can interact with things that are really important to the company. The way they treat customers, their core values, emotional intelligence elements, leadership behaviors, and it gives them an easy way to actually practice and build those muscles over time. When they do that as an organization, they set themselves apart and they immediately become part of that very small percentage of companies that people want to work for. Like, they can't wait to go to work. It's just, it's so different. And that's why the same companies are always on the top 100 best places to work. Those companies know how important it is, and they're working those muscles all the time in a lot of different ways. So we're helping companies bigger and small, create one way that they can really democratize that experience.
I love that, and love the term democratization. I love that the approach works regardless of the size of the organization. And just one quick follow-up, Jeff, and I'm going to jump over to Suzanne, talk a little bit about the leadership aspects of this. When you roll these programs out, do you explicitly explain to the participants that we're doing this intentionally because we value you as humans? I mean, back to your 4 points, right, about being valued and being committed to others and so forth. Like, is that an explicit part of how you roll the challenge out, so that there's no doubt in people's minds that that is a driving force for this approach?
Yeah, so there's 2 things, right? The platform, our technology, doesn't matter how good it is. If it gets rolled out poorly, and if it's another thing that people have to do, it's got a very low chance of success. But if they follow the little playbook, which should be the truth, which is, we've been listening, we've heard you. And one of the things we're going to do to try to make this better and to support all of us is this. And based on your feedback, based on how your experience is, we're going to either keep it as a tool moving forward, or we're going to get rid of it. So give it your all. Let us know your honest feedback. And when it's presented that way, the buy-in is exponentially higher.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that. Suzanne, thank you for being patient. Appreciate it. I was trying to work through a logical sequence here to get back, and hopefully I had a little bit of logic in this, because I think what Ashley and Jeff have teed up for us, these notions of change, of cultural change, right? It's very difficult. They're taking different approaches, right, to how to move organizations in kind of through a transformation process. Suzanne, you spend a lot of time in what you do working with executives and leaders, right? Trying to find these very different types of leaders for organizations. I have to believe, right, a key ingredient for any of these kinds of initiatives is not only buy-in from senior management, because we hear that a lot, but almost active participation from leadership to drive cultural change. Have you found that that's a key ingredient for the success of these kinds of initiatives?
I mean, I think, let me preface that with this. I think a key ingredient to anything is impeccable communication and empathy. Because there's really nothing that can't be achieved without empathy. That's how I feel. And I'm not out there looking for executives. So I'm not involved with any aspect of recruiting whatsoever.
Okay.
I'm strictly brought in for something that we call forensic referencing. So basically, once executives have been, so I have two verticals. One is the human side of the deal diligence for acquisitions, which is turning out to be, it's kind of taking on a life of its own because it's kind of something new for my clients. They've really never experienced anything quite like this. And it kind of fell on their lap because someone that I had worked with that I was doing diligence on for a prospective CEO hire referred me. And so they thought, well, wouldn't that be interesting to bring her in to do diligence around some of the key members of the leadership team for this, let's say, $2 billion acquisition, and then find out what are the dynamics between them or among them, and where might there be holes in the business. So it opens up this whole new avenue for them that they're not finding out about, when they're doing their side, which is a lot of numbers.
Right.
So they're finding that it's really complementary. But I can tell you that I'm connecting with senior executives all around the world. And my view is that it doesn't matter who it is, where they are, what culture they're in. My belief is that at the end of the day, people are people. And yes, we have to be mindful and respectful of other people, of other cultures. But I think that what people really want is, and again, Steve, I have 7 seconds to connect with someone, right? To really get them staying on the phone with me, listening to me, and trusting me. And so my clients were so enamored with the work that I was doing that they actually asked if I could provide a training course to them to teach them how to do it. And I was just blown away. And I thought, how do I do it? I'm not sure. I really have to think about that because I'm just doing it, and it wasn't something that I had really thought about, how can I get this person's attention? I'm just contacting them, doing my job and trying to be clear and concise and, approaching them in a friendly manner. And I realized that the key is to my success. There's many variables, Steve, but I believe that the key the biggest key to my success is that I make it all about them. It's never about me. Yes, of course I have an initiative that I want to achieve, but when I reach out to them, I'm always acknowledging them, and I'll do a little bit of research on that source before I contact them so that I can learn a little bit about them and just, bring it into the conversation. And it's amazing how that changes the game. And listen, it's only happening within a few seconds.
Right.
So I think that, I don't know if I've answered your question because I'm not doing recruiting, but I really believe that a lot of it just boils down to clear, concise communication, infusing empathy into the equation, acknowledging people, and using our eyes and our mouths more proportionately.
Interesting. Tell me more about that.
Our ears and our mouth.
Your ears and our mouth. So to balance, and I'm a good Libra, always looking for balance, never finding it, right? Libras in the audience, you know what I'm talking about. I want to see my chat light up with my Libra friends. You Leos won't get it, but we love you. You're awesome. Tell me more about that, the balance of listening and also sharing, right? How do you find that right balance, and how critical is that to developing trust very quickly? I don't know, can you do that in 7 seconds?
Well, I think in developing trust really quickly, you have to talk because you have to explain why you're calling someone, and you have to be as clear and concise about it. and transparent as possible. And my work, there's so much sensitivity and confidentiality to it. But I just do my best to be as authentic as possible and give them every possible detail I can without giving them certain information. And usually, I mean, these are senior level. The sensitivity of my work, and a lot of them appreciate it because they've been on, on the other side of a bad deal or a bad hire. So they can appreciate what I'm doing, and a lot of them acknowledge that. But I would say that once something makes sense to them, now they're listening to me, and I have their attention, and I have them on the phone, and now I have to start by breaking the ice. And I have a lot of questions and a lot of information that I want to find out from them. And I obviously have to be mindful of their time, but I always start out by asking them, how did you first meet? How did this all come about? Anything that I can do that will break the ice. And people love telling stories. They love talking about themselves. And they love it when someone shows interest in them. So that's always how I come out of the gate, after I've explained to them who I am and why I'm calling, and are you willing to speak with me? And I would say that it works probably like 85–90% of the time.
That's fantastic. And I'm so hopeful I can internalize all of the advice from the three of you. I'm going to have to go back and listen to the recording because there's so many great points here. And Ashley, I want to come to you and have you respond a little bit to what Suzanne shared. I love how she talks about the importance of empathy and showing interest. And those things can sometimes be difficult to do through a digital mean, right? I'm engaging with a camera right now. I'm looking at that little green light. Reminds me of the Brady Bunch episode where Cindy was on a game show, right? And she got caught staring at the light, couldn't answer on camera. Some people aren't comfortable in digital modality, right? Marsha's screaming, "It's Baton Rouge, Cindy, it's Baton Rouge," right? Is the answer to the question. People are going back and looking at their DVDs of the Brady Bunch now. I know they are. But Ashley, how hard is it digitally to establish that empathy, demonstrate that interest, build that trust? And as Suzanne, I think, has been very compelling in sharing, we often don't have a lot of time to get that done, right? People are very, very busy. So I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I think Suzanne and I share, I'm sorry, it's so loud in the background. Suzanne and I definitely share, it sounds like, Suzanne, the type of clients that we're working with. So same, very high level tech executives, often at a VP level, people who have very little time. And I love these themes around transparency and empathy, and to echo Jeff's bio and to kind of pull in almost a spirituality component, is that we're always looking for creative ways. So we have a value that transcends conscious connection, and we seek to break down barriers. So internally, one of the things that has worked amazingly well is we have a session called Digital Freedom every couple of weeks, and it's really a cultural session, and we'll have a different theme. So the theme might be courage. I think when we did the courage theme, we borrowed a lot from Brene Brown's work. And we have the team, do breakout sessions, and we ask really provocative, personal questions to cut deep into really who is somebody. So we might ask something like, what is one of the most fearful experiences that you've ever had, and how did you overcome it? And really someone can choose to go as deep as they want in answering a question like that. And it's just amazing what people choose to open up and share. And I think that just goes such a huge way to be building those meaningful relationships. From a transparency perspective, to me, having a digital first culture is fundamentally different. So you structure the organization differently. I was very inspired maybe 2012, 2013, if anyone remembers the tech startup world, there was a big story around a company called Buffer app. And Buffer would give full transparency across their organization, as in you can see any email from CEO down, any email that is any email that's sent, full transparency on financials, people's salary. We aren't quite at that point, but for example, when it comes to our financials, we're completely transparent internally. And what that does to build trust, empathy, you don't have those kind of bump ins in a face-to-face environment as much. So what I really try to do without it being overwhelming is give access and openness to as much as our team wants to see about the operation of the business. When it comes to clients, I'm constantly told, and it just really surprises me actually, that one of the pieces of feedback we get is that our clients love working with us because of our transparency. So for example, if we're running an advertising campaign and we have a media buy budget on Google Ads or LinkedIn, we always provide real-time full access. So they know exactly what we're taking as a commission, what our fees are, what the taxes are on the ad spend. To me, that seems very common sense, but my experience has been that actually a lot of the times what an agency will send is a piece of paper that gives you a total cost with very little in terms of breakdown. And again, just with digital specifically, it's a different way of facilitating empathy, trust, and just true conscious connection with both of our clients and our team members.
Fantastic. We love transparency, Cadence and ACE events, and here at Cadence. So I think that's really a trend that we're seeing a lot more of. I think we can thank our millennial friends for their passion around authenticity and transparency, right? I know that's often associated with that generation. I think those are great things. Jeff, I'm going to come to you as our last round here before we wrap up segment one and disperse to go engage with our community, have some nice table talk conversations. Jeff, as you've heard Ashley and Suzanne talk about, trust building, obviously you folks have a technology platform. And as we know, technology is only as good as if people use it properly to get out of it what is intended. I'd love to hear from you about how do you build trust through technology, right? Can you build humanness into the technology? And is that part of how you guys have constructed your solutions?
Yeah, thank you. And absolutely. I mean, I think with social media, we're seeing that humanness, good or bad, is certainly able to be conveyed digitally. The problem with social media is there's no direction or filter, so you can get kind of a big collage of humanity there. But when you use the elements that are making us kind of addicted to it or wanting to tune into that, like you can use that for good. And so, one of the things that we're seeing is, I'll just share a little bit from the video game industry. One of the things we use is a lot of gamification, right? So gamification is a big word just to say that we're using elements of a game to trick the brain into feeling like whatever you're doing isn't another thing on your to-do list, but it's something that you're looking forward to doing and you're playing. Now, why that's important is because they in the video game industry, they study billions of points of data to see what keeps us playing stuff. And they found that there's 7 elements of a game that trigger certain parts of our brain to want more. Wow. Now, I always say parents have known this for thousands of years. Like this is not new. I have a 6-year-old, and the example I give is if I want Bodhi, that's his name. If I want him to clean his room, there's a couple ways that can go. The first way is I can make him. I'm the dad, I'm bigger than he is. That's one experience. But if I tell him about the little boy in New York who currently holds the world record for the fastest cleaning up of a room ever, it's 4 minutes and 32 seconds. I don't think it'll ever be beaten, but if he wants to give it a try, I'm happy to get the stopwatch. Papa, get the stopwatch, I know I can do it. He gets the exact same thing done, but his experience of it is totally different. And so when we start to look at that, we're not that much different as adults. If we can trick our brain into feeling like we're playing something, we can take something as hard as forming a new habit and turn it into something we actually look forward to doing. So we can absolutely do that with technology. And we use our platform not as a way to escape from reality or not as a way to submerge into a virtual world, but rather to just as a touch point for the real world, right? So it's a game right in between our ears. And one of the ways, so for example, that we do that is every day during a challenge, you get a little daily inspiration. It says, it comes as a little text message or push notification that says, hey, Steve, happy Wednesday. Click here for your morning dose of inspiration. And that takes you to your challenge. It has a little inspirational thought or quote up on whatever you're working on. And that does a couple things. First, we're big believers that one positive thought in the morning can really help shape the experience for the whole day. Mm-hmm. It also does a couple things. It trains the brain to wake up and look forward to something to be inspired by. Most of us wake up we go into our email, we go into our news feed, and that can be a very different experience. So when the brain starts to wake up looking forward to being inspired, that's a good thing. And then finally, it gets people to their dashboard, which reminds them what they're focusing on. And one of the things that Suzanne said, like, empathy is huge, but when people asked her, like, how do you do it? She had to think about it because she's just natural, and she has a gift and a superpower in that arena. And that's unfortunately how most people who are good at it are good at it. They're just somehow they're naturally good at it. But you can delineate elements, and no matter how good people are naturally, we can all build that muscle. So we have clients of ours who use our platform in schools. We had 400 middle school kids working on empathy last quarter, and they were practicing it on a daily basis. And those kids were awesome. Like, you hear like the deep insights. And so it works at any level, but you can absolutely, to answer your question, get the human elements into technology.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. And I'm so excited when I hear things about fourth graders learning empathy. I think we're in good hands with some of the generations coming up. So panelists, wow, action-packed segment one. I totally blew our time limits, as I'm usually doing, but this is great. You guys have shared so many great perspectives. Let's go ahead and break for segment one now. Let's go out and meet with our community. I'm sure they're eager to ask some questions of each of you and follow up on some of what you've shared tonight. Audience members, while you're engaging with our very special guests, please do share with them, what challenges are you seeing, right? What questions do you have in your own organization as you're dealing with how to keep business human, right? And maybe you're going through your own transformation back to, status quo ante or some slightly different version of the future, right? I'm going to ask our panelists to be the voice of the community. And when we come back from our table discussions, they're going to share what they've learned from you in the process, and we'll make that the focus of the next segment. So we'll go ahead and break and enjoy your time with our featured guests. Our second segment here on our program tonight on Cadence, and we're bringing our featured guests back up on stage here. I'm Steve Boyce, your erstwhile name, and looks like Ashley's going to join us up here with Suzanne and Jeff. Just want to thank our panelists again for joining us tonight, sharing their perspectives in our first segment. And we hope all you folks had a great time chatting with them out at the tables in our beautiful Cadence environment. Again, with a nod to our great partners at Ace Events for producing such a beautiful environment. I know I had great fun chatting with the community out at the tables. I always learn something when I do. And I also switched browsers during the break because I was told I was having a little bit of a video issue. So hopefully I'm coming through clearer. To mitigate that, I'm going to try to talk less so we can hear more from our speakers. Suzanne, I'd love to start with you. As you were out engaging with our community, share with us a little bit about what you heard. What are folks buzzing about? What's on their minds on this topic about keeping business human?
So there were two interesting topics, and I'll keep them pretty brief. One of them has to do with, when we're approaching people and, how do we best get their attention? What do you put in the subject line to get someone's attention? And, what I find is that I would say like 99% of the people that reach out to me on LinkedIn have no clue who I am, no idea. They just want to sell me something. And they just dive right into it. And that doesn't move me at all. And so my advice to anybody that's out there looking to get someone's attention and build a relationship is to do it patiently. Be patient and make it about the other person. Because when you can do that, I really believe that it distinguishes you in very large part from the rest of the population. And whatever that takes, if it's just spending a couple of minutes to read through someone's LinkedIn profile, or maybe they have some videos posted on YouTube, anything you can do, and it doesn't take much time. It's an investment of a couple of quick minutes that would allow you to acknowledge that other person. So I think that was the topic that came up. The other topic that came up was how things have changed during the pandemic. And, really just people have changed through the pandemic. And we hope that it doesn't go back to the way it was. And so what I've found is that people have made more time, and this is what I've seen. And I'm talking again about executives. They've made much more time, or allowed for much more time to have meaningful conversations, and deep, meaningful conversations, and to be able to do that with a complete stranger. I think that's pretty fascinating. And I really feel that the pandemic has given me, and a lot of other people, I'm not alone, tremendous perspective. So you wake up each day and, hey, wait a minute, I'm thankful to be alive today. So sometimes people, and I always like to infuse humor into things, but sometimes people will say, how are you doing? And I'll say, well, I have a pulse. And you know what? They'll say, oh, well, you have a really low bar. And I'm like, well, no, I mean, it's really, I have gratitude. I constantly remind myself to wake up every day grateful for really the gifts that can't be bought that we have. And I think that a lot of people through this pandemic have really acquired a newfound perspective. And so when I hear people complaining about things that are absolutely meaningless, I don't have a lot of patience for that. I kind of check out and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Do you really know what a problem is? Look at all the people that have died. So those were kind of, a couple of topics that came up that I thought, were really interesting reminders of how lucky we are to have the things that we have, all the things that we have that cannot be bought.
Very well said, Suzanne. Very well said, and well reported from the field to capture some of what's on the minds of our community. Just a couple of quick reactions. I mean, I think that line, grateful for the gifts that can't be bought. And Chris, thanks for capturing that in the chat. That's a beautiful sentiment. Suzanne, thank you for sharing that with us. I would say that that's highly tweetable, but I think it doesn't give it its due. So I really like the sentiment, and I think that's a nice way to capture the essence of what you were talking about with the folks out at the tables. And getting attention and focusing on the other individual, right? And I think we've all had those experiences of folks who found us in LinkedIn, right? And we're all out to do business, of course. That has lots of positive benefits for lots of stakeholders. But I love your advice about being human. Take a little bit of time to invest in learning about someone that you're trying to connect with and get their attention with something real, right? That's about that.
I promise it goes so far. And it's really, I would say in large part, the secret to my success. And it's not really a secret. It's not a hard thing to do.
Excellent. I like the secrets that aren't difficult, right? But like Jeff, you said, and Jeff, let me come over to you, because in a sense, that's another opportunity to work a muscle, right? To practice that approach that Suzanne has guided us to, which I think is a fantastic one. And yet another example of, if you want to build that into how you engage with people, you do have to do it, right? You got to practice it, or you're not going to adopt that change.
Tony Robbins has built his career on modeling. Like, it's just all about finding someone who's really good at something and then doing what they do until it becomes second nature. You find a Suzanne who's great at connecting with people in 7 seconds, you model her, and then you might never be Suzanne level, but you'll be better than you were yesterday and better than you were a year ago. And that really is how we grow and improve in any area. And the beautiful thing, I think the reminder is, there's no area that we can't learn, grow, improve on. While we might not become, whoever we're modeling at their level, there are people who have just different gifts. We can all be better versions of ourselves with a little bit of practice.
I love that. That is such a great positive message. Jeff, what else did you hear when you were out engaging with the community that you'd like to share before we?
Yeah, the one thing Emily shared, she's a recent grad in the job kind of hunt and interview process. And what I was struck by is, obviously we hear a lot that there's, so it's right now on both sides, but she said she spends a lot of time, what I heard, preparing herself to be perfect, to have to present herself in this perfect way to a company, because whether they're looking at 100 other people or like, there's just so much competition. And what are we doing wrong that someone feels that they have to present themselves perfect? Like, that's right. That's not sustainable. That's like, we do it in relationships as well. I guess that's the first couple dates. And yet I think that, you know, the when we really connect, the thing that's kind of been a through line is when we connect at an authentic level. So I would love people who are hiring people to get to that quicker, like make it not about that, and people who are being interviewed in whatever way that they can to be themselves more, so that we're not both pretending like our company is great and here's why we're great and it's not the actual case, and here's why I'm great, and overselling ourselves, when the reality is, you know, we're hiring for something, you're probably awesome at that and that would be amazing, and our company is pretty good in most areas and we have some areas that we're working on, so, you know, are we a good fit? And
Right.
Yeah, that was one kind of really interesting topic.
I love that. A story of authenticity. And thank you, Jeff, for sharing that. Thank you, Emily, for sharing that, for being open in your conversation with Jeff. Ashley, I'm going to turn to you to help us close out our final. I'll start by teeing up a question from Q&A, and hopefully my camera's still working. But you can use this as a jump off point. But Ashley, one of the folks in our community is interested on, you know, people have changed and how we work has changed, right, as a result of the pandemic. I think we're all kind of aware of that. And this individual would love to kind of just get your sense and perspective on what is the reality of working from home and how has that really been for folks? And what have you seen as you've engaged with clients and channel partners and other stakeholders? I'd love to get your assessment on the impact of this whole thing for people in terms of that working from home dynamic.
Yeah, great. I want to pull in some of what Jeff
Please.
had to say. So this idea of looking perfect, oh my gosh, like what a stress that nobody needs to deal with. And I think one of the things that we do at Transcends, there's a big difference between an internal meeting and a client-facing meeting. I definitely don't look like this if you ask my team in 90% of our internal meetings. And I think when we talk about, you know, Suzanne saying authentic communication and just those 7-second relationships, it can actually go, sometimes the way that you build trust is to come online and to look really professional, such as maybe in a job interview setting, as Jeff was saying. Other times it's about looking like a mess. When I was prepping for this call, actually, Fallon and I spent so much time this morning, which was amazing, but I got behind on all the rest of my meetings. So in our follow-up practice call before this, I was curling my hair and I turned on my video to, you know, show that I was in the bathroom, like curling my hair frantically to get ready, and kind of just said, hey, like I'm here. I am present to this call, but just so you guys know, this is what I'm doing right now in the background. And I think just being a real human being goes so far. So Steve, to your point, working from home, some of the great things, if we focus on the positive side, is getting to see people's pets and people's kids and meeting husbands and meeting wives, and you know, consulting to Microsoft. I was directly reporting into a CVP, you know, a heavyweight in the Microsoft space, chief vice president. Anyways, he would take our calls from his 6-year-old's bedroom, and a girl, and it's just like this, like unicorns everywhere. And then he had a sign constantly over his shoulder saying, "No, you didn't." I mean, talk about just being able to feel more human. And one of the things that came up in our chats that we just had in the breakout is little things, using GIFs, using emoticons, not taking yourself so seriously. You know, a GIF inserted into an email can take that email from being a little bit of a screw you to a like, hey, I'm just, you know, chilling, let's have some fun. We've got some difficult stuff to work through, but let's not take this stuff too seriously.
Love that. I love that. And it's such a positive note to end on all of what you've shared with us. And, you know, I love this concept of just be yourself, right? Be a good person, be yourself. We can all things that we're not good on. And I know I've got a little video issue here, but some fantastic advice from our 3 guests. I just want to thank each of you again for joining us here on our program tonight at Cadence. Ashley Bogstad, Jeff Bayeto. All the folks in our community for taking time out of your time and schedule to join us here and share your perspectives with each other and with our guests. We love this co-created kind of experience, and we value your opinions and perspectives and appreciate your openness and sharing those with us. So stay tuned, folks, for more of Cadence. I believe it's coming up on August 25th. If anyone wants to correct me from the production team. No, okay, the 25th. August 25th, folks. So I guess it's the last Wednesday of each month. We're going to continue this broad topic on keeping business human. And next time we're going to focus on thriving in the new world of work, right? Very exciting stuff. So do plan to join us next time, August 25th. Same time here, 6 o'clock Eastern. I think that's right, 6:30 Eastern. And we'll look forward to another fantastic panel of wonderful guests to share their perspectives. So on behalf of the team here at B-Dance and ACE, I'm Steve Boyce. It's been my pleasure to share with all of you tonight. Thank you again to all our wonderful guests. We hope you folks stay safe, stay well. Feel free to hang out for a few more minutes in the table talks and share some more conversation. And we'll see you next time.